name is Reezl Ann D from Section Charlie, and today's video is all about my reaction video about the Module 1, which is the Special Criminal Investigation. So, duty of criminal investigator. So, according to what we've read, there are 4 basic duties of criminal investigators. Number 1 is to establish that, in fact, a crime was committed under the law. And then the second one is to identify and apprehend the suspect. It was sabotable na already. To recover stolen property, of course, and to assist the state of prosecuting the party charged with the offense. So, naputay job of the criminal investigator. So, number 1 was written there to discover whether or not an offense has been committed under the law. And then the second was, after determining what specific offense has been committed, after atong iyang determine, so he must discover how, when, where, why, what offense was he committed, or the suspect had committed. So there are also methods of identification of criminals. Na ay criminal are identified through the following. Therefore, four methods para ma-identify ang criminals. First is confession and admission. Confession and admission. Then, second is statement of witnesses. And the third one is circumstantial evidence. And the fourth one is associative evidence. So, unsa di ay ang confession? What is confession? This is an express acknowledgement by the accused in criminal cases of the truth of his guilt as to the crime charged or of some of the essential part thereof. So, there is no implied confession, for it's a positive and direct acknowledgement of guilt. It is the best means of identifying a criminal. So, also, sa criminal investigator, napoy katong sa confession, napoy rule of confession. So, first one is the confessions need not to be written. Dili siya isulat. And then, confession may be written in language which the accused does not speak. And then, confession must be freely and voluntarily made. So, voluntarily or freely, marag wala na siya gisugo or wala na siya gisugo. It is freely and voluntarily ihang self ang So general principles of criminal investigation. So in the performance of his duties, the investigator must seek to establish the 6 cardinal points of investigation. Kailangan nila ni makita at establish ang kaning 6 cardinal points of investigation, namely what specific offense has been committed, how the offense was committed, who committed it, where the offense was committed, when it was committed, and number 6, why it was committed. Muna siya ang kailangan nilang isik at to establish the 6 cardinal points. So the basis of criminal investigation. First, we have preliminary investigation. It is to identify the criminal through confession, eyewitnesses testimony, some circumstantial evidence, and associate evidence. And then, kaduha, follow-up investigations, or it traces and locates the criminals. And the third one is the final investigation, which to prove by evidence the guilt of the suspect. Okay, so tools of an investigator in gathering facts. So first, also, pinakaunag yun sa tanan is information. The information, of course, and then the second one is the interrogation and then the interview. And to be followed by instrumentation. So what is instrumentation? It is scientific examination of real evidence, application of instrument and methods of physical sciences in detecting crime. All inviolate materials of every descriptions, including those derived from observation, reports, rumors, imagery, and other sources from which intelligence is produced. So there are 2 general classification of sources of information. So, open sources. It is 99% of info collected are coming from open sources. And then the second one is closed sources, which is 1% of info from closed sources. So, overt intelligence. What is overt intelligence? It is the gathering of information of documents procured openly without regard as to whether the subject or the target become knowledgeable of that purpose. And then nana siya ay open sources. So, includes information taken from enemy activity to POW to civilians and then captured documents. And another one is the map, the weather, the forecast, the status report in the agencies. So, covert intelligence. It is the secret procurement of information which is obtained without the knowledge of the person or persons safeguarding vital intelligence and the rest. So, naapot siya closed sources. What is closed sources? Nandira ang our information usually taken through surveillance, casing, elicitation, surreptitious entry, employment of technical means or bugging and taping devices, and tactical interrogation, observation, and description. So, napo na siya other sources na butang po dito sa module. So, what is informant net? Informant net is a controlled group of people who work through the direction of an agent handler. Okay, it was votable na already. The informant's principal or cut out supply the agent handler directly or indirectly with intel information. So, naatay types of informant. First informant is a criminal informant. An informant who give information to the police pertaining to the underworld about organized criminals with understanding that his identity will be protected. So, magpanggap lang na criminal siya, kabalo siya sa underworld na kwan, pero he is protected by nagatabang mo siya. So, informant yan, nagatabang siya sa mga police or etc. And then the confidential informant. What is confidential informant? So, it is similar to the former, but he gives information violent of the law to include crime and criminals. And then the third one is voluntary informant. A type of informant who give information freely and willfully as a witness to a certain act. So, muna siya mga informant na direct na sila gahatag and voluntary by their self. So, naputay and number 4 is special informant. Special. So, those who gives information concerning special cases only and it regarded as special treatment by the operative. So, example ani is the teachers and then the businessmen. So, number 5 is anonymous informant. Okay, what is anonymous? Alam na natin anonymous, diba guys? So, those who give information through telephone with the hope that the informant cannot be identified. So, hindi sila magkapailang mga kumbaga okay. So, subtype of informant. There are 2 types of subtype informant. It is incidental informant, a person who casually imparts information to an officer with no intention of providing subsequent information. And then the second one is recruited informant. Recruited, from the word recruited, a person who is selected, cultivated, and developed into continuous source of info. So, naputay informant recruitment. If you wanted to be a informant, pwede kayo say. So, selection. First is selection. It's particularly desirable to be able to identify the recruitment of an informant who has access to many criminal in group or subversive organization. So, kailangan, if you wanted to be informant, nagit mo process kag selection, which is kailangan makabalugod ka sa mga criminal, many criminal in group or subsidized organization na kay mga nabalaan ana and then investigation. The investigation of the potential informants that has tentatively identified as probable must be as broad as possible. So, and then the third one is appropriate. questioning of a person believed to possess knowledge that is sufficient interest to the investigator. And then the second one is the importance of the interview. Okay, the interview in a crime investigation is very important considering that the person interviewed usually gives his account of an incident under investigation or offers information concerning a person being investigated in his own manner and words. So number three, the task of first is interview. Define the importance of the interview. And then the person interviewed consider his ability to observe, his ability to remember, his ability to narrate, and then his mental weakness because of the stupidity of intricacy. So number 4 is the interviewer's personal traits. So nato dito sa module, kita na ito yung mga the interviewer's personal traits. And then the fifth one is the planning of the interview. Okay, the planning of the interviewer should consider the fact of the case that been established so far, the information needed to complete the pictures, the sources information that is consulted, and then etc. na nato sa module, mabasa na nato, and then sabot-abol na pud kayo pud siya, sir. Then sa preparation of the interview, number 6 na. Number 7, time, the place, and the surroundings and circumstances. Opening, number 8 is the opening interview. 9, the body of the interview. And number 10 is the questioning. The questioning part dominate the interview. Be careful, do not allow the interviewee to be the one asking the question. Okay, do not rumble, have a reason for every question asked, and then follow the order of the time and bring out the facts in that order. Okay, daghan pa to siya og kanang details sa questioning. So nag-isgot ay nagsulti lang ko og gamay. And then the 11th one is the closing. So the interviewer should always the door open for their interview. Okay, open gid dapat kung mag-interview kung naumalutan man to niya dapat na interview para okay man dapat siya. So don't forget to say thank you. Of course. Dapat thank you after the interview. Okay. Note, although the words are interview and interview should have similar meanings, there are those who prefer to use interview when questioning witness and informants and interrogation questioning a suspect. A philosophy of interview and interrogation. The right of the officer asking the right question in the right manner at the right time and in the right place will get the right answer. So what interrogation in general? So what is interrogation? So interrogation defined as interrogation is a questioning of a person suspected of having committed of an offense or of a person who is recluted to make a full disclosure of information in his positions which is pertinent to the investigation. Excuse me. So the purpose of interrogation. What is the purpose of interrogation? To obtain information concerning the innocence of the guilt of a suspect. Of course, to obtain a confession to the crime of a guilty suspect, to induce a suspect to make admission, so etc. Na ang details sa module, sir. Nakita na nato and then masabtan na po siya, sir. So number 3 is a preliminary conduct. The interrogator should identify himself at the outset of the stage, general purpose of the interrogation. And then number 4, the interrogation room. The room should provide freedom from distractions. Yes, walay dapat distractions. It should be designed simply for enhance and concentration of both interrogation and the suspect of the matter under questioning. And then the 5th one is interrogation of techniques. Okay, so interrogation of techniques. So criminal interrogation system. Okay. Types of the offenders and approaches to be used is in dealing with them. Emotional offenders have a greater sense of morality. And then non-emotional offenders normally do not feel any guilt. Okay, so number 2, interrogation of suspect whose guilt is defined as or reasonable certain. So maintain an attitude that shows that you are sure of yourself when you conclude that the suspect is indeed guilty. suspect should be made aware of the fact that the interrogator knows information indicating his guilt and that the interrogator is not merely fishing for evidence. And then that's letter C. Let the subject knows that he is showing signs of deception, from which are pulsation of carotid or neck artery or etc. Okay. So sympathize with the subject by feeling him. Anyone else under similar condition, which the requisite might have done the same thing. Reduce the subject's guilt feelings by minimizing the moral seriousness of his offense, and then F, in order to secure the initial admission of the guilt, the interrogator should suggest possibly reasons, motives or excuses to the subject, and then that's number 3 is interrogation of the suspect whose guilt is uncertain. Ask the subject if he knows why he is being questioned. Tanong siya. Ask the subject to relate all he knows about the crime and the victim, possible suspect, and then the datas are in page number 13 in the module, which is also supportable na po siya, sir, and nabasa na po naman siya, sir, So, general suggestion regarding the interrogation of criminal suspect, and then fifth one is interrogation witnesses and other perspective of informants. So, development and control of informants. So, number 1 is confidential informant, defined as a confidential informant is an individual who is supplies information on a confidential basis with an understanding that his identity Okay, then number 2 is need for informants. Informants increase accomplishment in all areas of investigation. Without informants, the officer's source or information will be limited to what he gets through formal interview, and then etc. Narapod sa modules. So, number 3, where to find criminal informants and whom to develop. So, legitimate person and criminals. Hoodlums, criminals, fences, bookies, barbers, bartenders, ballroom and dance hall operators, prostitutes, madams, pawn brokers, cab drivers, bellhop, service station attendants, waitress, and others. A class in themselves is a person who had been accused or suspected of a crime. Person engaged in certain occupation should be considered. So, how to develop confidential informants. So, number 1 is constant need, and then evaluation of an individual being considered as possible informant. Does he have access to information? Can he develop the trust of his associates? Intelligence and physical courage, his criminal record and background, his pattern and of behavior. So, the third or the letter C is the basic consideration. Contact must be made in neutral place and etc. Okay, number 5 is use of informant. Maximum benefit. The confidential informant should be used for the maximum benefit of the entire organization, not only one officer in investigation. And then a designate executive should be aware of the identity of the informant. Consider a program within your respective commands for the development of informant. So, undercover investigation. So, prepare for undercover work should be to sufficiently throw up, preclude compromise, and to minimize danger to undercover operative to ensure the ultimate success of the investigation. So, general and specific qualification. Undercover work as a selective assignment requires that the investigator must possess, in addition to certain general qualification and specific qualification required in the type of investigation being conducted. So, nasa module ang general qualification and specific qualification, and also it is also as sabotable already and adding to at an anecdote. And then the fifth is the authority for undercover operation must be from the top officer of the organization undercover story. And then the badge and credential must never be carried. Number 9 is a weapon should only be carried if it's consistent with the background story, and then provide safe communication system, arrangement for drops and safe houses, and then the undercover operative must never pose a criminal unless no other approach appears inadequate. So the rule of undercover operative is to gather information or evidence against a suspect or organization in order to investigate the commission of a crime. And then 14, plans for the operation must provide action or alternative in case an undercover is arrested. And then the reminders taught COT in an undercover operative. Okay, so letter C is the surveillance. In general, investigation of certain case, a point reached when the investigators sometimes find it difficult to secure leads through questioning of a complainant and its possess. So, the definition of surveillance is as discrete observation of the place, person, and vehicles for the purpose of obtaining information and concerning the identities of the activities of the subject. Third is the objectives of the surveillance: to detect criminals, to discover the identity of the person who is within establishment and determine the relationship, to discern the habits of a person who lives in America, obtain the evidence of the crimes on Atticus Mojo. Fourth is the shadowing of the tailing, and then the tactics, followed by the note. The investigator must maintain a note of a log or a log containing a chronological record of the activities. Then the roving or undercover work. It is a form of investigation which is investigator assumes a different and official identity. And then the arrest or undercover agent. The police arrest. If the police arrest an investigator, he must act according with his orders. If he has not received orders regarding the disclosure of his identity,